Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and Roshan, for anyone who cares to know that he is still here and going. Well, it's 2025, as you know, and a lot is happening, a lot to discuss today, and the situation, unfortunately, is getting from bad to worse in many aspects. So, brothers and sisters, get ready for another year of action as we intend to continue to cover all of these stories and to start getting out there and getting involved in tackling all of these threats that are cropping up all across the globe for many Muslims, and just covering the stories, platforming and empowering Muslims, as we always like to do here at Five Pillars. Roshan, let's get straight into things. I know that everyone's been watching all of the crazy stuff that was happening over the night at Trump as he has now claimed the White House. He was having parties, the inauguration itself, and then of course he was in the doing his rallies on stage, which went a little bit fascist at one point. We're gonna talk about it, but just give me your initial reaction before we get into the nitty-gritty. So Trump's in the White House. He's now back for his second term. What do you make of it all?
Well, I'm glad to see the back of Biden. You know, genocidal president. That's his legacy. Genocide. You know, literally unlimited support for a modern day Holocaust. So I'm glad to see him go, and I really hope he burns in hell, quite frankly. I mean, I don't think he's got that long for this world, given how senile and doddery he looks, but only Allah knows. But I'm pretty sure that he's going to await eternal torment, you know, and I pray that that happens. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, I mean, look, I must admit I missed him a little bit, because just entertainment value, really. You know, I mean, look, I place no kind of faith in the president of the United States. They're all evil as far as I'm concerned. Every single one of them has been evil and disaster, especially for Muslims. And I'm sure he will be as well. But yeah, I mean, just look at him. Yeah, I mean, dancing with a sword and just for kind of entertainment, comedy value, I'm kind of pleased to see him again.
The weird thing is...
Do you see that bit when he tried to kiss Melania? She had this hat on, didn't she? This weird hat on during the inauguration ceremony. And I was wondering why she got a hat on. It looks a bit weird. I thought maybe he clocked her one or something like that, and she wanted to hide the bruises. I don't think that happened. But and then he tried to kiss her, but he couldn't get close to her because of the hat.
They talk about hostages in Gaza. She looks like a hostage wife. She'd never looked happy.
But he was like left hanging like that for about like 1 minute. And then this guy comes on and does a Nazi salute. We're going to see that in a minute.
Yeah, we've got that clip.
Right, okay.
Basically, it was just crazy, wasn't it? I mean, Trump, I know he's an entertainer and he's a TV personality back in the day. And I agree with you, it's hilarious. But I mean, these guys are off, they seem unhinged now.
They are.
I feel like now it's the second term and Trump's got like more power than he did before.
Yes.
And perhaps he's used to that environment now. He's just full unhinged now.
Don't forget,
these guys are lunatics.
He can only serve a 4-year term because, you know, 2 consecutive or non-consecutive 4-year terms. 8 years is what a president gets. So he doesn't have to face another election. So he can do what he wants. He can literally do what he wants for the next 4 years. And obviously he's got Elon Musk on his side. Look, I mean, I do think that Trump played some role in the Gaza ceasefire, which we'll talk about in a few minutes' time. So that's to his credit, and I think Biden didn't do it. You know, so I think Trump has put a lot of pressure on Israel to enact this ceasefire, which is a good thing. But he's also revoked the terrorist designation of these extremist, violent Israeli settler thugs who are clearly terrorists. I mean, I think all Israelis are terrorists personally. But yeah, so, you know, you'll get a bit of good, a bit of bad with Donald Trump. And sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, I think, and that's the question, is he like a bit crazy? A lot of people will say he's a bit of a madman, but then sometimes people also argue that maybe he does that on purpose because he wants to keep people guessing.
I think he often agrees with the last person in the room. You know, a lot of his decisions are hunch kind of decisions, like taken impromptu on a whim. I don't think he really has an ideology, or is even clever enough to have an ideology, quite frankly. So, yeah, he's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've already mentioned it. There was a really bizarre scene that was captured and went absolutely viral on the night. It was Elon Musk who took to the stage, basically gave what it's hard to dispute as being anything other than a sort of Nazi salute.
See it? Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
It was like really
What's he doing?
passionate.
I actually haven't read too much about him. What's he doing? How did he justify it?
So I'm going to be fair and sort of cover this as a journalist as best I can.
You're going to be fair. So basically, that is no way a Nazi salute.
That's a great screenshot.
I mean, all he didn't say was Heil Hitler.
Basically,
maybe that's what he's saying on his breath.
Basically, during the full speech, he says something along the lines of "Thank you for getting us here" to the crowd. My heart is with you, and he just goes and just gives this weird gesture.
Has he justified it somehow, or has he explained it?
I don't think he's responded. He's kind of just laughed it off, basically, and has accused everyone of being woke idiot. Well, he hasn't said anything, but that's basically what his supporters are basically saying. Look, these are just woke idiots getting upset about a gesture which clearly wasn't a Nazi salute, even though it's basically the most Nazi-looking salute a non-Nazi salute can possibly achieve. But basically, it seems like he was supposed to gesture my heart to you or something like that. Like he's tossing his heart up, but he just doing like it's really weird. So that's giving him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, loads of people were saying it's just weird. Why would anyone in their right mind do that? Like, it's just the most bizarre gesture.
He's autistic. I think he's autistic. I genuinely do think he's autistic.
No, he is. Yeah. He actually is on a spectrum. I'm not even like joking. He is on a spectrum. I
think he's admitted it, hasn't he? He's Asperger's or something, yeah.
Something like that. So he has it. But a lot of people are also turning around saying, well, I know people on Asperger's and they don't give Nazi salutes. It's not part of the condition. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, I don't know, a Tourette's thing where you sort of swear and you can't help it. It's just a bit random.
Do you see his speech?
So I don't really know what to say.
He gave a speech and he was like,
it was like the worst speech in the world.
He couldn't get his words out. I mean,
basically, he's a very rich dork. That's what Americans call them, dorks or nerds, geeks. Yeah. He's like a geeky rich guy, and it just comes across a bit weird as well. But yeah, what can I say? It has a bit of everything, this inauguration, doesn't it?
I think if he didn't have money, nobody literally would be interested in anything he had to say. And it's just like, unfortunately, we have this phenomena, even in, the Muslim community, we have, like, worldwide, we have rich people who their voice is amplified simply because they have money.
Yeah.
But just because you got loads of money and you might have made, your business a success in one particular field doesn't mean you know anything about politics or ideology or how to run a country or whatever, And he's one of these guys. I mean, literally, we'd be walking, without if he had 10 quid in his pocket, we'd just walk by him in the street. He'd get no attention whatsoever.
I know, and it's a bit creepy how he is sort of going out of his lane into all of these issues. Like, he's interfering in British politics quite a lot. I mean, according to Tommy Robinson's Twitter account,
he's funding his case.
He's funding his case. Now, that's just like really weird and crazy in itself. So he's getting involved in all of these causes here, which are, who is Elon Musk? Okay, what does he want? Is it like global domination or something? Because he's talking about chips and technology and putting technology into people.
Yeah.
And then he's getting involved in politics now. He owns the biggest social media platform. He talks about free speech, but then people are getting censored, or he's amplifying a particular viewpoint online. What I want to know is, who is this guy and what's his bottom line agenda here? Yeah, because he talks, like, I've seen a picture of him. He wore the Christian cross upside down on his top. That's like an anti-Christ
I don't think he's religious.
Symbol.
I think he's an atheist, right? Or at least an
But
agnostic.
who knows? I don't know. Do you know? Because he's backing up all of these right-wing Christians. He's backing up right-wing Christian stuff and talking about Christian values and traditional family values, and he's talking about wokeism and that.
Yeah.
But he's not religious then, or is he? I don't know. Like, what do you want, Elon Musk? What do you want?
I think
what do you want? I feel like maybe there's some agenda going on here that we don't know about. What does he want? What does he believe in? Do you know what I mean? Does he believe in cyborgs and he's got some fetish for machine people? I don't know. There's something going on here.
I think it's self-glorification and, as you say, world domination. I think that's it.
Maybe.
Surrounded by yes men, people who think he's great and probably don't question him, and that's the nature of rich people. If you got money, everyone they're not interested in you, they're interested in your money. So they'll just say yes to you and flatter you, etc. I mean, and it gets to your head.
He flip-flops his views. I don't know if you remember, there was a clip of him, I think it was after October the 7th, and he basically said something real, like that it was the truth. he was like, to be honest, regardless of October the 7th, I'm paraphrasing here completely, but he said, look, if you're going to kill Palestinians and kill their parents and butcher them in that way, then obviously you're going to encourage them to take up arms because you're giving them no alternative. It was something real along those lines, yeah, like some fact. He got condemned for it. Everyone accused him of being anti-Semitic. All the pro-Israel lobby groups started to activate. They mobilized for Israel or whatever. Now he's done a complete 180, and now he's just totally in the pro-Israel camp. So it was almost like, what do you believe? Like, who are you?
Probably
no
nothing.
one knows. I don't think anyone knows who this guy really is or what he's really all about or what he believes. And that's what gives me the creeps.
He's just the kind of natural result of our societies, which are hedonistic, capitalistic societies. Don't really believe in anything apart from money, the power of money, the power of self-glorification, maximizing happiness, maximizing all that kind of stuff. And Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the personification of that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's something weird going on with that. We'll have to do a conspiracy special or something where I get a chance to just air my random views on the subject. But there was more serious stuff, I think, going on as well that we have to discuss. So Trump, obviously, on the first day, he took a bunch of measures, signed decrees and whatever, new policies essentially to begin his term. And some of them were basically pro-Israel, anti-Palestine policies, to say the least. He also issued some very concerning comments about the ceasefire as well. I'll just play it out so that we can react to it.
Then that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of the deal.
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident. But I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2-state?
Gaza, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
My mind. You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather. You know, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance?
So basically, the main area where people were concerned about is that he expressed he didn't believe the ceasefire may hold. He said it might not last past phase 2. You know, and this is someone who said that it was an epic ceasefire deal that he achieved. He took full credit for it. And now it appears that it might not even last. So, no, you know, not good sign. I mean, Israel might go back.
6 weeks. We have 6 weeks. I mean, Hamas, in some of their comments, do give him credit for putting pressure on the Israelis, but they also say they don't expect a return to war. For whatever reason. And they've also said that they're not really interested in ruling Gaza again. They're trying to get a kind of, all the Palestinian factions together to rule Gaza. So they've even admitted they will take a back seat. I think they're more interested in being a resistance organization than just being ruling Gaza for the sake of it.
That's interesting. So, let's see how it goes. But basically, I think, because Netanyahu, one of his speeches was translated, and he seemed quite confident that he had been given the blessing by both Trump and Biden that if they're not totally happy with everything during the ceasefire process, during the phases, that they can just go back to mass murdering Palestinians.
Possibly.
And I mean, that's not a great deal, is it? Do you know what I mean? Giving Israel total power to just do whatever it wants.
Yeah, I mean, look, should we talk about the deal now? I mean, it was
I think
kind
so,
of,
yeah, I think so.
So obviously, I think Palestinians and their supporters obviously are happy because there is a ceasefire. So 15 months of total war has come to an end, at least temporarily. The Palestinian people can breathe a little bit. Aid can go in. Maybe journalists at some point will go in. And by the way, we are looking as 5 Pillars to go into Gaza. I think Dilly will take that as soon as it's possible to actually get in. So they're happy from that front that the war has ended, even if it's only for 6 weeks. Inshallah, it will be longer. But they're also happy because they managed to secure about 2,000, I thought it was 1,000, but I think it's up to about 2,000 Palestinian prisoners from all factions are going to be released. And people like Khalida Jarrah, who's as far from Hamas as it's possible to be, she's a secular nationalist, but Hamas have insisted that she was released amongst many other prisoners from all different Palestinian factions. So for 90 Israeli hostages, 2,000 Palestinian hostages, and I call them hostages because that's what they are, will be released. So that, I think, in anybody's book is a good deal from the Palestinian point of view. On the other hand, we have to just look at the state of Gaza to temper our celebration. You know, it's absolutely destroyed, maybe 80% of it, infrastructure, well over 100,000 people dead, I believe, personally, because so many are hidden under the rubble. You know, most of them women and children, infrastructure, houses, hospitals, everything, a complete demolition site, as Donald Trump described it. So it's hard to get really excited. From outside, I think the Palestinians are celebrating, but it's hard to really celebrate. It's a partial victory, I would say. It does feel different to the Hezbollah deal, which I should mention, which happened, you know, a couple of months ago, where, you know, Hezbollah basically, they abandoned Gaza. You know, clearly they abandoned Gaza. Now, we can contextualize why they did that. I mean, they survived themselves. They did fight, unlike, you know, all other Sunni Arab countries that I know. They did fight. They did bog Israel down for about a year. There was support front. Then when it came to a ground invasion, they did fight on the ground. They held Israel off, even though Israel wasn't really looking to take southern Lebanon. I don't think. They never, you know, had that as a clear objective. But
they did want to push them back past the Litani River, I think.
And they didn't do that.
Well,
they have, haven't they?
They have, in a way, haven't they? That's the terms of the deal.
But what I'm saying is that Hezbollah did fight on the ground, and it wasn't one-way traffic at all. But obviously they were heavily infiltrated, their leaders were killed, and they have a lot of people in Lebanon that hate them. You know, whether they're Christians, Sunnis, or whatever, or just outright traitors who are pro-Israel. They made Hezbollah's political situation untenable in a way. But I'm trying to be fair and contextualize it, but the fact is that deal felt like a bad deal at the time from a pro-Palestinian point of view, simply because Hezbollah had delinked Gaza from the equation and had left Gaza all on its own, apart from the Houthis. So that's all I said. And the final thing I would say is that Hamas are undefeated. That was a clear goal of the Israelis to defeat and destroy Hamas. And we saw those scenes of, you know, Hamas fighters on the streets, surrounded by, you know, ordinary Gazans. So even public support for Hamas seems to be quite strong in Gaza. So, you know, that's me trying to contextualize it and put it all in the round. But it does feel as though at least it's a partial victory, whereas the Hezbollah deal a few months ago felt like a bit of a defeat.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to make, simply the fact that, you know, Israel didn't win in Gaza either. I think that's an important thing.
And that's sorry. Before I finish, because I'm getting old and I forget everything, and I will forget this point. If you look at the Israeli media and what Israeli analysts are saying, and politicians and journalists, a lot of them are saying it's a defeat. Yeah. We failed in Gaza. All we did was kill loads of people and destroy infrastructure, but we didn't destroy Hamas. They're still operational. They probably still have as many people fighting as they did at the beginning.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what the Americans say.
We didn't push the Palestinians out. You know, what have we won? That's what Israelis themselves are calling this a defeat.
Yes, absolutely. No, you're definitely right there. It's caused a massive political division, actually, this deal as well. Many calling it a surrender deal. I think even Ben-Gvir, the extremist in government, he basically said he basically called it a surrender deal to Hamas. So, you know, this organization is fighting strong. It's still got loads of members. The US has admitted as such. So it's a total military failure for Israel, I think. And I think that the fact that Israel had such an advantage militarily as well, for them not to be able to, I mean, Gaza was literally surrounded. They had air supremacy. They had the big bombs, the drone technology, everything, support from the West.
Unlimited support.
Unlimited support, and they were literally allowed to commit a genocide. If you know, it was that level of support. Just, you can kill as many people as you want, totally annihilate the whole strip. And they still weren't able to defeat this group. So
I said this in a tweet. I mean, whatever you think of Hamas, I know some people think they're terrorists and they're designated as such in the UK. Other people around the world think they're freedom fighters. Wherever you think about it, let's just look at this dispassionately, and let's just talk facts. The facts is that they They were, ragtag bunch of a few tens of thousands of fighters with domestically manufactured weapons in a territory under siege from all sides. And they managed to survive despite 15 months of total war from an army which is one of the best equipped in the world, supported on an unlimited basis by the world's major superpower. So I think, honestly, this will go down in military history anyway, and it will be studied in military academies and schools all around the world as a model of how to fight a bigger, better equipped enemy.
Yeah, I think I think it's another example of where if you're at war with the population as an occupying power, you'll never actually win. It's impossible, and that's been proven throughout time and again throughout history. Because if the people don't accept your presence, you will never. You'll just forever be fighting to maintain your presence until the point comes where it's not sustainable anymore. So I think that's one way in which Israel may come to an end, inshallah. This apartheid colonialist project in Arab Muslim lands. I think it's just going to end one day when the resources run out. Right now, the US is on the top of it's basically it's an empire in its kind of golden age, but there are a lot of cracks showing.
I think it's on decline. I think it's an empire in decline.
Yeah,
personally.
maybe it's on decline now. So, and that's what a lot of people are saying. And there's rival economic blocks being developed in the East, which could undermine the dollar. And I think even some countries reliant on the dollar are sort of flirting with the idea of ditching the dollar eventually, because everyone, I think, senses that the US is in decline now, as you say. So it's just not sustainable, and if Israel's going to carry on committing genocides and massacring people, I think that what goes around comes around. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not justifying or calling for anything.
Well, obviously, if you kill
innocent people.
I do think that Israel. I mean, this is the other victory for the Palestinians. In the ugly face of Israel has been revealed to the world, and it is clear now to all right-thinking people around the world, and that's the majority of the world, that this is a genocidal, extremist, racist, radical state which has no place in civilized society.
There was the hostage.
I'm trying to get myself a Memri. Memri, the Israeli kind of, what they do is they make everyone look bad. We've been on Memri so many times. For those of you who don't know, brothers and sisters, Memri is this, I think it's Israeli-funded or Zionist-funded organization. And they scour the world's media, the Muslim media around the world, in all the different languages, Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, and now English as well, for the most extreme comments. And 5 pillars, alhamdulillah, we've made it onto Memri about 4 or 5 times. I have. Have you? I know Dilly has.
I'm always in the shot.
Yeah,
it's never for me.
You're nodding. Well, I say my extremist things. So Memri, that's just cut us again, please. Amplify our voices. Please.
Let's get the show out there, isn't it? Let's get some free publicity. But there is one thing I want to discuss before we move on. It's got to be the hostage exchange. That's a key part of the deal. And a lot of people are saying stuff. I mean, I don't know, Roshan. If I was going to be a hostage, and I don't want to be a hostage, I'd rather be a hostage not under Israeli hold, because I might get raped or tortured. That's what it seems.
You'd rather be kidnapped by the Palestinians, you mean?
Maybe. If I'm held hostage by Palestinians,
obvious.
I mean, they got goodie bags. They were giving out goodie bags. They were.
That makes it all right, doesn't it?
I mean, compared to getting raped by an Israeli soldier, which we saw on camera.
Dogs,
And I mean, if you look at the condition the Palestinian prisoners are released in, I think I'd be much happier in Taliban or Hamas hostage.
Well, Yvonne Ridley had a great time under the Taliban, didn't she, when she was kidnapped?
I mean, the thing is that I'm not sitting here saying hostage taking is good or anything. I think it's not good. And I don't want to be a hostage. But if someone said, okay, you're going to be a hostage now, you can either go with this group or that group.
You'd be a bad hostage, wouldn't you? You'd be like, where's my Kentucky Fried Chicken? Oh, you don't
hey, well, I'm used to a coffee when I wake up in the morning. Food? I'm used to a coffee in the morning, and if my goodie bag didn't have what I wanted in it...
They'd release you because they still want to be your...
I'd be like, what kind of goodie bag is this? Where's the cake?
You'd just be so annoying, they'd release you. Oh, get out. Just go home. Whatever.
But I mean, come on, man. You'd pick the group that's giving out goodie bags compared to the group that rapes its prisoners,
all
right?
I'm saying is all the Israeli hostages that have been released, it looks like they've been treated well. And they've...
The mum of... This was reported on Sky News. Yeah. The mum of one of the hostages, I think, maybe the British-Israeli one, said that she was surprised that she came back and she was better than they thought she was going to be.
Look,
I guess thought that she'd come back like beheaded, to be honest with you. That's probably what they thought.
I mean, she was missing two
she came
fingers,
back with
but
a
I
goodie
think that's
bag.
when she was initially shot on October the 7th.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't anything that happened after. Look, the thing is that this isn't the first hostage release, right? It happened about a year ago. So I don't know, about a few dozen Israeli hostages have been released, or perhaps more than that. And none of them have said we were badly treated, you know? Whereas every single Palestinian that has been released, they've got horror stories to tell. You know, either being beaten up, solitary confinement, bad food, paraded naked, so many things which are against Geneva Conventions, against any civilized, norm.
I think that there's at least one Israeli who did allege a bunch of mistreatment. I think she became famous in Israel. But
What did she say?
Basically, the issue with that is that everyone was saying, well, she's claiming she was really bad treatment, but actually she's gone on to become some kind of celebrity. So she's actually doing all right for herself, to be honest. And what they do is they compare Israeli hostages to the Palestinian who are held hostage in these jails for so long, Israeli dungeons. And I mean, the Palestinians are coming out and they're like they don't even have a personality anymore. They're like mentally damaged. And they act...
Well, Khaled Jarrah looked very old, didn't she, when she came out?
Yeah, she had aged like 100 years, to be honest. And she claimed that she was like gassed and stuff.
I mean, the Israelis say that it's hair dye. That's it, but it's more than hair dye. I mean, even her face, it wasn't just her hair. Her face looked, she aged at least a decade.
She looks broken a bit, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know what she's going to do now. If she's going to go back into politics.
No, she's not broken.
She looked
very strong lady. She's not broken at all.
But you can just tell the toll it took. The toll it took. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I guess she's strong.
Look. I don't know whether this Israeli hostage who claims mistreatment was paid to say that or not. But what you have is hardly any of the Israeli hostages, or maybe just one, saying they were mistreated. Whereas you have consistent stories from hundreds of people saying exactly the same thing when it comes to the Palestinians in Israeli jails.
They're smiling on their release. The Palestinians are like crying because of what they've been through. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit different. Plus, they've got goodie bags. But what I will say
they
is
got a certificate, didn't they, for like an Arabic language certificate?
Do you know what they got? So they got a certificate.
Map of Palestine. I think they tried to teach them a bit of Arabic.
Yeah, and what they apparently, I was reading, there were photos in there of their time in captivity.
Yeah.
Now
memories.
Memories. To be honest with you, I think Israeli intelligence whipped them up, and they're not releasing those photos. And they took the goodie bags away from the Israeli people. Make of that what you will. But they've lost their goodie bags now. But I assume that the photos that were in there were basically of them with their captors.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, sharing tea or something, to be honest with you.
Right,
That's why I assume. Because why would they give them a picture of something, like, bad? Do you know what I mean? Now, what people are saying is, no, that's psychological torture. These are evil, barbaric captors.
Well, obviously, it's not good taking a hostage, but obviously this is not a...
What I will say to you is, okay, you talk about this so-called psychological torture, goodie bags or whatever, but look at all the psychological torture on camera that the Israelis have blatantly been engaging in on civilians in Gaza and the West Bank and everywhere else. They strip their captives completely naked almost and parade them around. They rape people with guns and whatnot. We saw that on camera.
Dogs.
They dehumanize them. They beat them. All of these captives that were released saying they were getting gassed and stuff and woken up early hours. And this is psychological and physical abuse and torture. And what? You're not supposed to talk about that, or you're an anti-Semite. So come on, don't lecture me about human rights and abuse and all of this when the other side engages in it worse than anything else anyone else is doing. Do you know what I mean? Israel is the worst offender of human rights abuses. And it's a genocidal regime. It's an apartheid racist regime. Just don't lecture me, okay? Just don't lecture me unless you are some kind of saint. Don't lecture me. So I don't want to hear it. Anything else to say on this?
No, in the sense that I hope all the Israeli hostages are released, and in return, thousands of Palestinian hostages are released as well.
Yeah. Well, we do have more Palestine-related stories bringing us over to the UK now. There was There's chaos on the streets of London on the weekend. There was a massive row between pro-Palestine protesters and the police over a rally that was planned. There was a dispute over the routes, and we can go into the details of that. But basically, the police said this week's pro-Palestine protest can't happen. There was a massive complaint about it, and they said, okay, you can have some kind of sporadic protest. Static protest.
Sporadic, is that a word? Look that up in the dictionary.
I knew it was something with a
That's
tick
a new
in it.
Robert word, sporadic. Okay.
But it was what do you call it?
Sporadic. Static.
Static, yeah. It's a static protest in
Let's
Whitehall.
just call it sporadic.
So yeah,
Get it?
sporadic. That's my take on it. So it's a sporadic static protest.
Yeah.
And basically it went ahead, but there were loads of arrests on the day. Protesters were complaining about police treatment. There was loads of police everywhere. And then there was a massive dispute over an alleged group of protesters pushing their way through police lines. That's how it was described,
including
by police afterwards.
the terrorist Jeremy Corbyn, the 75-year-old heavy Jeremy Corbyn, who
barging his way through police
just
lines with flowers.
loads of police.
Yeah, he had a bunch of flowers. He was battering them away. Yeah. But they said that that's what happened, and it led to further arrests. And basically, we now have footage released by one of the organising groups of the protest.
And 10 people charged, Robert, as well.
10 people charged.
Including prominent people like Chris Nynham from Stop the War, I think Ben Jamal from the PSC.
We actually have some footage here of one of the arrests.
Pregnant woman here.
I'll see. So obviously that was one arrest. I'm not sure why she was arrested, but I know they were complaining that she was apparently pregnant and it was outrageous. I'm not sure if she was the one who went through police lines or if she did something. I don't know. But this was one of multiple arrests on the day, and we also saw footage of protesters holding flowers being arrested for the alleged reason of barging police lines, which they all dispute. Everyone disputes it. Corbyn's rubbished it on Twitter and everything. Corbyn and McDonnell were forced to go to a police station to be interviewed under caution. It was a mess, an absolute mess. And I think the origin of the issue was the route. So it was supposed to go from the BBC to Whitehall.
And there's a synagogue somewhere around there.
Some synagogue no one's ever heard of.
I don't even know. I've been to that area.
On a route which they use all the time, I'm sure.
We've both been to that area many times. I've never noticed a synagogue.
Yeah, I never knew about it. But apparently it was, I don't know, some day that they shouldn't have done it.
Saturday.
Sabbath. Oh, Sabbath. Yeah, there you go. So apparently it was some issue. And you got to remember, Roshan, I've never ever heard of a synagogue being attacked by these pro-Palestine.
Well, half these Zionists don't even go to synagogues because they're atheists, right? That's what
Maybe, but I don't know. This issue came up, and the police got heavily involved, as they always seem to do now, and it's just turned into a complete mess. And what I see here is British citizens who are just trying to express their views on a really important subject, and they're just being prevented from doing so. That's what the organisers are claiming.
These are just, this is like, I'm not sure how big this demo was, but
they claim about 100,000 people attended. So this is a big demo. These are big weekly demos, really important. People care about Palestine. They're pressuring the government on a really important issue. They want to express their views in a peaceful, democratic way, and they're being met with a massive police response. They're being smeared as being some kind of anti-Semitic barbarians and terrorist supporters who are hunting down Jews in central London, none of which is true, of course. And now we just have people being plucked off the streets, British citizens, for no other reason other than keeping Israel happy. That's the
look.
what
I think what's happened. The context behind this is that the police are under a lot of pressure from right-wing groups and Zionist groups who just don't want these marches to happen. Simple as that. They support the genocide in Gaza. They are quite happy to see loads of Palestinians die. They will say that they're all terrorists, etc., etc. And they just don't want these marches to happen, full stop. And they're putting pressure on the police, and the police have caved into this pressure. These guys are soft. They're not violent people at all. And there was no arrest for violence. What it was is that there was a route which the police said you could go down, and it was never agreed. You know, the police said this is just the route. Now, when they got there, the police were letting them through.
We're actually playing.
They're letting them through, right?
So you can see on camera, these are flower-wielding old age pensioners and anti-war activists. Jeremy Corbyn's in there and others. And they asked police, can we go past, please? And the police are actually saying, yes, please make your way this way.
And when they did so, they nabbed them. So basically it looks like a setup to me. They should have said to them, no, you can't go any further than this. And if they'd said that,
please
they would have
make your
stopped.
way. Please make your way, says one police officer.
Yeah, they would have stopped. They would have stopped.
They're moving orderly past police lines under police permission to do so. That's what.
So the police have basically, on purpose, let them through police lines so that they could arrest them. Now, look, the Met Police are in big trouble here. This is going to lead, because the cases are going to fall. They've charged 10 people with public order offences. It's going to fall down. I'm sure it's going to fall down, and it's going to lead to lawsuits. The police have made a massive mistake here, and they're going to get done for it. And it's going to cost the Metropolitan Police, and therefore the taxpayer, a lot of money.
And it's all because the police are being weaponized to keep a foreign regime happy. It's as simple as that. It's activists and groups that are loyal to a foreign regime that are they're pressuring the police and are now weaponizing them against British citizens who want to express themselves.
These people at the front, you know, Ismail Patel and Jeremy Corbyn, Benjamin, you know, we know these people. They wouldn't say boo to a goose.
They wouldn't say boo
They're
to a
soft.
goose.
I mean, I say that in a nice way.
Yeah, they're kind
like
people. Yeah.
you and me, we're a bit like, you know, like a bit of argy-bargy, don't we? but these people are soft. Well, I do anyway. Don't
I
you?
go to far-right demonstrations.
You hide behind bushes whenever there's trouble. But yeah, no. But they're not violent people, and there was no violence whatsoever. I mean, what a mess! What a mess the police have made of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it in lawsuits.
Yeah, very silly, totally avoidable. And I think it's because the police as well, they're being pressured to act in this way, and they don't know what to do. I think we've seen a few times where a police officer has, I don't know. I remember there was one story, there was a police officer who took a picture with some kid who was wearing a Palestinian shawl around his keffiyeh around his head or something. And the police officer went viral online because all these pro-Israel Twitter accounts were saying, oh, he's next to some kid wearing this thing. And I mean, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So the police are under all this extraordinary pressure from a minority of genocide supporters, basically. Yeah. And the saddest thing is they're acting on it. I mean, I grew up being taught that Britain was something great, that we had the world's greatest police force. We was a country that ruled the waves once upon a time, and we have a lot to be proud of. But I mean, just look at the police bending the knee to a foreign regime in order to facilitate their genocide, you know? It's a disgrace. It's a mockery.
They're trying
humiliating.
They're trying to spare.
Humiliating.
They're trying to spare the feelings of genocide supporters. Yeah. And frankly, who cares what they feel?
Yeah, absolutely.
If they feel anything.
Absolutely. Well, there's that story. It is developing. We're going to keep an eye on it. Now, there is one more story which we should discuss before we finish up the show. It's the Southport story. So obviously, the young man who killed all of those children in that horrific knife stabbing attack last summer has pleaded guilty. He's accepted that he was the one behind the killing, and he tried to kill more as well. Horrific story. Now, the government and the authorities are releasing more information about him as the trial goes on, so we can now discuss certain things. However, despite the facts that are coming out now, we still see recurring narratives from right-wing, far-right sources that apparently this is some kind of Islam-related terrorist attack, basically. And there's all these claims that there's more information we don't know and that there's an attempted cover-up going on. So yeah, maybe you want to react to this, Roshan, because I've got things I want to say, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean,
it's getting ridiculous now.
So the facts of this are that this guy, Axel, whatever, I can't even pronounce his second name, nor do I want to. he was a young boy and young man fascinated by violence and clearly demonic, as you can see in that picture. And he had an Al-Qaeda training manual, and he was referred to Prevent. Now, that has led to a massive rumor mill. Why did he have an Al-Qaeda training manual? He must have been a Muslim. He also had an IRA training manual. Is he Irish? You know,
He was
fascinated by violence, and he was referred to Prevent several times for that. None of the Prevent practitioners determined what his ideology was, apart from just being fascinated by violence. That's why no one's called him an Islamist or a Christian terrorist or whatever, because he doesn't have an ideology. He's just a violent young man.
And just to clarify, he was born in Wales, but his parents are Christian, and he grew
From
up
Rwanda.
from Rwanda, and he grew up in a Christian household,
Church going.
But again, like, it's not right to go around saying, well, he's definitely a Christian terrorist, because as you said, it doesn't appear to have any kind of ideology other than the fact that he was just deranged, he was sick, he wants to kill people, he had a fascination with violence, as you say.
If he was a Muslim, they'd be crying about it. They'd be shouting it from the rooftops. Here's another example of Islamic terror. Let's give Prevent loads more money. Let's crack down on the Muslim community. Let's crack down on Islamism. They'd love it. The authorities in this country and the media would love it if he was a Muslim. And they would cover it up. What favours have they ever done us apart from demonise us and target us?
Yeah.
They've not done us one favour, whatever.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it would be a great time for the mainstream, because obviously they'd have that story that they can milk. Islamist terrorists.
They'll say, "Oh, let's close down these Muslim organisations.
Yeah.
Let's close down 5 pillars and all that kind of stuff." They'd love it.
That's a really good point, about this cover-up. But yeah, these narratives are sticking, and they're still going around, based on that Al-Qaeda manual, like you say. But this is a guy who...
Well, no, but it happened before that, right? Andrew Tate was saying he was an immigrant and a Muslim, and so was many others, Tommy Robinson, whatever.
Yeah,
so that was even before the Al-Qaeda. Look, the police there have made a mistake. They should have contextualised that. They just released this information out into the public. He was charged with having an Al-Qaeda manual, and they just don't say anything else. So obviously that's going to lead to a rumour mill.
Yeah, of course. No, absolutely. So yeah, there's complaints about the authorities' handling of it as well, as you say, as well as the far rights politicising the event to score cheap political points and to try and further their nasty agenda. But I think one thing that you've already mentioned that I think we should emphasise a little bit more is the issue with Prevent. So during a statement to the nation on this development, the Prime Minister named and shamed Prevent in his speech as being one of the reasons where state institutions failed to prevent this horrific attack.
Yeah, didn't prevent.
Which, basically, I'll just play out a short clip now, because I think we should really focus on this.
The responsibility for this barbaric act lies, as it always does, with the vile individual who carried it out. But that is no comfort. And more importantly, it is no excuse. And so, as part of the inquiry launched by the Home Secretary yesterday, I will not let any institution of the state deflect from their failure. Failure which, in this case, frankly, leaps off the page. For example, the perpetrator was referred to the Prevent programme on 3 separate occasions. In 2019, once, and in 2021, twice.
So yeah, quite damning and embarrassing, I'd say. Prevent named by the Prime Minister there. And this is obviously the counter-extremism initiative, which is supposed to catch people before they get radicalized to the point where they commit such horrific attacks. Now, there was some kind of threshold, apparently, that he didn't pass, which is why they didn't proceed further against him. What threshold was that? I want to know. I mean, what is it? Because he wasn't a Muslim that they didn't proceed? I mean, Prevent has already had a number of allegations thrown at it that it's creating an atmosphere of fear surrounding the Muslim community, and that it basically that it targets Muslims disproportionately, when in reality it perhaps is a bit softer on so-called like far-right radicalization and the threat that poses, and that's a deadly threat too, you have to remember. And now that this has happened, I mean, I want to know what threshold. I want more information on this. I mean, I think you said in the past that you basically think that Prevent's a gravy train, that it's an ineffective initiative, total failure, not fit for purpose, and that people are just using it to milk.
The counter-terrorism industry has flourished since 9/11, you know, and you know, both internationally and domestically, especially in the United States and Britain. And it's a big gravy train. You know, people get jobs out of this. They get livings out of this. So it's they're happy to have some kind of threat, because otherwise they'd be out of jobs, quite frankly. So yeah, absolute gravy train. But you know, I think Prevent should be scrapped. That's I've thought that for a long time. Well, this is state Islamophobia. Their failures.
Totally
I think
useless.
I think
totally
the existing.
Useless.
I personally think the existing mechanisms and the law is sufficient to prosecute people and stuff like that. But one thing I would say, if Prevent has to exist, then they have to focus far more on the far right. You know, and we know that from, you know, just the amount of nutters on Twitter that are crazy. You know, they're absolutely crazy, and obviously egged on by Elon Musk these days. And, you know, facts don't matter to them, Robert. Like, they don't matter to Donald Trump or Elon Musk. They don't matter to the far right. No matter what you say, no matter how much you try to reason with them, this killer is a Muslim in their eyes and will always be a Muslim. He'll always be an immigrant. And they don't care what you say. And if you come up with rational arguments, they'll say it's a conspiracy theory. They'll say it's Tuckier. Somebody's tried to hide something, you know? They don't listen. They're nutters. They're completely nutters. You can't reason with them. And you just have to deal with them put them in prison, or, I don't know, put them on an island somewhere where they can just breed, you know, with each other.
Put them on Mars.
Breed their weirdo kind of children or whatever.
Just let Musk take them to Mars,
seriously. They're not. These people are danger to society, and potentially they're very, very violent as well. And obviously, their first target will be Muslims.
People want to attack Islam. I think there's an Islamophobia industry. We know about it, but I think that industry is really starting to activate now. And I think it's seen what's going on with the spread of Islam across the globe. It knows that there's a lot of activism now in the Muslim community, which is starting to affect Western politics as well, the Muslim vote and everything else. And even the demographics are changing in Europe and things like that, because Muslims are better at making families, having more kids. Our communities are strong and they're a bedrock, and we take that from Islam. So I think the Islamophobia industry now is activating, and it's like, okay, whatever is happening, attacks, terrorism, the mainstream narrative, we've got to pin it on Islam. And the best way to do that is to basically make Muslims the problem. And then by there we can expand and say, well, they're just following their barbaric religion. That's what they would say. So that's why you end up getting total tits like Andrew Tate coming out and saying, oh yeah, this grooming thing, the far right are right, it's an Islamic problem. Because he's an idiot. He's getting suckered in to where they're going. Have you noticed
how the government has caved into this grooming gang national inquiry thing, and they're saying they're not going to have a national inquiry, they're going to have more local inquiries, and you know very well where those local inquiries are going to be, right? I mean, I'm actually all for a national inquiry because it would just prove that most pedos and nonces are white people.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Sorry, no offense, Robert, but yeah, but if you have local inquiries and in places like Rochdale and Rotherham and Telford, obviously it's going to be mainly Asians, right? So that's trying to stitch us up again, basically.
I know. It's a very clever way, and because that's the thing, the Labour Party are the party where they'll claim, no, we're protecting minorities, but actually it looks like they're just selling them out. So
look, what's happening, I think, if you look at this from a global perspective, what's happening is that Muslims are winning the argument. Now, we haven't come to Europe with weapons. We've come to Europe with our way of life
and our
Quran, our Sunnah, our Salah, our Zakah, our Som, our beautiful way of life. And people are seeing that way of life, and they're copying it, and they want to copy it, and they want to be like us. And
or they just want to be us.
And the diehard atheists And supposedly, I don't even believe these people are Christians. You know, they're not proper Christians. They clinging on to this fantasy of Christian culture and Christian supremacy. They're probably atheists or agnostics, and they've never read the Bible, don't follow any Christianity whatsoever.
Yeah, they're just
but they
insecure.
fear that they are losing Europe and their countries to Islam. That's what's really happening. So they're basically fighting back through every means they know, which is basically lies and violence,
Smears as
to
well.
try to stop us from spreading.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my conspiracy for the day. I think this
Not
is an
conspiracy,
Islam.
it's facts. It's facts.
Yeah, I think so.
Facts are
Yeah.
facts.
Well, I say that, but obviously,
But the question is,
got
what
some
should we
proof,
do?
innit?
What should we do? I mean, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of Muslims in here would say, let's keep our heads down. Let's like not antagonize people.
Let's
not
integrate.
But then is that dawah? Because ultimately, I mean, you know, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the teachings of the Quran, it's all about spreading Islam to the world. That means we're not spreading Islam. Obviously, we can do it in a wise way. But you know, that is our goal of being here, to give Islam to the people, to the masses.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a blessing and it's the proper way of life. Obviously, we're not going to force anyone to become Muslim, you know, and obviously we're going to respect the law. But if we're not doing dawah, then what's the point of even being here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we?
No,
Finish.
no.
I think we've covered a lot
I'm
of
waiting
ground
for
today.
your outro so I can interrupt you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't have all
the
the time.
outro is coming. I think that's it for today, but not to worry, because we have plenty of opportunities to discuss the news further in the coming weeks. And also, as we approach the holy month of Ramadan, inshallah, we will have an opportunity to focus more on dawah and other stories related to our beautiful community. And I already have a good one lined up. I have some good stories lined up, which I'm not going to tell you about here, but I'll just, as a little teaser, we've got some good stuff coming.
And maybe this is
month,
this is a test to see whether people are have actually bothered watching this to the end. I would like you, brothers and sisters, to maybe come up with some ideas for 5 pillars in 2025, what you want to see us doing, what you like about us, what you don't like about us, Robert. What you don't, no, me. But yeah,
the only comments I ever see is, Rob's so great, but Roshan, you interrupt him too much, or there's too much Roshan on the Rob show, or whatever.
No, but yeah, we would actually like some ideas, because we're heading into kind of the Ramadan period, and then after Ramadan, we're strategically looking at where 5 pillars goes. So where do you want us to go? What do you want to see us doing? And send us ideas. Put them in the comments.
Yeah, just tell Roshan you want to see more of me, and you'll get your wish. I'm sure that's what you want. Well, that's it for now. Please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. And until next time, inshallah, it's Assalamu alaikum, ma salama for now.